Hey everyone, today is day one of the reading vlog for Twilight. So I have read this book before, just a disclaimer, but I have not read it since 5th grade. So I'm 23. It's been a hot minute since I've read this, but I've heard so many people saying how problematic it was, how such and such, etc., etc., ... There was so many things wrong with it. So, and just to kind of prove to you how long I've had this book for, this book is literally the edition I read in 5th grade. It is copyright 2005, which was when the book came out. I literally made my mother buy it for me when she got out of work. She works in retail, so I forced her to buy it for me when it came out. And yeah, so, and also I would like to point out, I gotta get my flashlight out for this. So on the inside I wrote, and I will show it to you too, just for poops and giggles because it was funny. I wrote, Sabrina, Team Edward, if you say Twilight isn't real one more time, I'll go get Edward to bite you. That's what it says. I just want everyone to know that. It's in pencil, so it's kind of hard to read, but I wrote that in a book. I'm sorry it's getting darker and darker in here. The lighting was like perfect like 2 minutes ago. See? Oh, it's good again. Okay, yeah. But I wanted to do a reading vlog for it to see how problematic it was. My friend Courtney over at Courtney Leak went and uploaded a video of her reading this. I will link her channel below, so go watch it. I think she is amazing. We're trying to get her more confident on BookTube here, so go like her stuff. But I'm gonna dig into this. I'm actually super excited to be rereading it. It's definitely gonna be an adventure, don't get me wrong, because I haven't read it in so long, but I am gonna be writing in this book. I'm sorry if you don't like that, but we are going to be doing a live show for this book. So if you feel like I'm wrong or anything, make sure you get that live show. I will be updating on my community tab and my Twitter. I will link my Twitter down below. Twitter is really where I post all my book stuff, and Instagram is definitely where I post all my book stuff, so make sure you follow those, especially if you want to keep up with me, especially when I'm reading Twilight and stuff like that, because I'll do keep those in my story tab. So without further ado, let's get started on Twilight. So excited to read this. This was my childhood. So yeah, let's just get right on into this.
All of your stray blind eyes, wide are my plastic toys. And when the cops closed the bag, I cut my long baby hair, stole me a dog-eared map, cover you
Okay, I am finished reading for tonight. I am on page 84. I just started this. I've been reading for about an hour. I'm getting sleepy, so I think it's time to go to bed. But I kind of want to do the thing where I like talk about what I want to talk about. So I've been kind of annotating, and like when I say annotating, like I've been like writing and highlighting things I want to talk about. This is a super old book, so don't come at me. So I just want to like point out a couple things. So the very first thing, my cat's coming in here like, Mom, let's go to bed. So the first thing that really stood out to me was she doesn't call her dad, she calls him Charlie. And there's a lot of times where she like spits, this is my chair groaning. There's a lot of time where she like slips up and calls him dad. And I think that's weird. I don't know why she calls him Charlie, because she says like he comes and sees her and she used to go there to spend summers with him. So it's not like they have a distant relationship. Like she spent months with him out of the year. So I thought that was super weird that she just continuously calls him Charlie instead of calling him dad. It's weird. Okay, next. Oh, and I think it's really weird how like every time he does something nice for her, she's like, I didn't expect it. He's your dad. Like, you think he was gonna let you drive around in the middle of Washington without snow tires? Okay, next thing I want to talk about is, okay, this annoyed me. Okay, she says, but physically I never fit in anywhere. I should tan, be sporty, blonde, a volleyball player or cheerleader, or perhaps all the things that go with living in a valley of the sun. Okay, she says she's never gonna fit in anywhere. This is a olive skin, brown haired girl. She is me. in Forks, Washington. What do you mean you don't fit in? You look like every other girl that lives there. Olive skin tone and brown hair. Like, I don't understand how you don't fit in. That bothered me. I will be thinking about that a lot because I was like, what do you mean you don't fit in? You literally are the adaptation of every like movie I've ever seen. The main character is brown hair, olive skin. Okay, this one has so many notes on it. Okay, first one is the Cullens seem kind of scary when they first see she's ready for bed. Can you tell? She's standing right next to me. The Cullens are written like they're robotic, like they're really scary. The amount of time she said they're very white and very pale, I was like, ma'am, can we describe them in any other way? Like, I understand that they're pale and they're white. Anything else? Any other characteristics? Do they have eyebrows? Tell me. Yeah, so she literally mentioned how pale they were like 6 times in a page, which was super annoying to me. And then my question is, why isn't anybody worried about these kids? Because they describe them as having dark shadows under their eyes, purplish bruise-like shadows, as if they were all suffering from a sleepless night or almost done recovering from a broken nose. So under the assumption that they're all foster kids, because that's how they described them, right? Why isn't anyone worried about these children? Like, I know they're like in high school and everyone's like, oh, no one worries about, they're still children if they're in high school. They're under 18. So why isn't anyone called CPS on Mr. and Mrs. Cullen? Because your kids look like you beat them. And I don't like how she describes them, because Bella goes from talking like a teenage girl to like talking like a 75-year-old historian. She goes from talking about how all their features were straight, like suffering from purple noses, to going, I stared because of their faces, so different, so similar, were all devastatingly, inhumanely beautiful. They were faces you'd never expect to see, except perhaps in the airbrush pages of a fashion magazine, or painted by an old master as the face of an angel. Who talks like that? Who speaks like that in real life? Have you ever heard somebody look at a boy and say, you look like your face was painted by an angel? Like, what? Moving forward and on. I'm just trying to like talk about the notes I made because this will come up. This video is gonna be super long, I have a feeling. Does Stephanie Meyer know how to use any other word but stared? It's never gawked, never looked, never glanced, stared. They stared at her. There's a scene, which I'll talk about right now, where he hasn't spoken to her in a couple days and they're sitting side by side at their desks in biology. And she turns and he was just staring at her. Can you imagine that? Because at a desk in class, you were literally like a foot from each other. Can you imagine just turning to your partner and they're like, can you imagine? Because no ma'am, get out of here. No, thank you. He like is always super rigid, holding his wrists like he's gonna punch her in the face. And she's just like, oh, what did I do wrong? Does my hair smell? Why are you worried about your hair smelling weird when this dude looks like he's about to poop his pants because he sat next to you? Again with the skin, every other page she's talking about how pale they are, how white we get it, they're very pale. And also, side note, she's always talking about how albino. She literally uses the word albino. Like, I'm not like calling that out. She keeps calling herself albino and how she doesn't look like everybody there, but they're in Washington. Like, don't get me wrong, like there's some tan people in Washington, but Washington is mostly cloudy weather, rain. It's literally in the most north freaking state in the fucking country. So why are we all worried about how albino and translucent your skin looks when you got the Cullens over here, when all you're talking about is how pale they are? Oh, and she literally keeps talking about how Forks, Washington is her own personal hell on earth, and I cannot get over how insanely dramatic that is. And then she keeps crying. Like, the whole first chapter, she's just crying or like on the bridge of tears non-stop because of Edward. Why are you crying over a boy? Didn't your mama ever teach you to be stronger than that? That was just chapter 1. Let's talk about chapter 2. I got issues. She's super mean to Mike. She like never even gives Mike a chance. She's just like, no thank you. But then like Tyler and Eric ask her to the dance and she's just like, no. And she never even like thinks of these people as her friends. Like, she keeps saying, I don't even remember half their name. What do you mean? Like, you've been hanging around with these people probably for a good like month now and you don't even know their names? Oh, man, okay. Oh, and she's like she's obsessed with the Cullens. She's obsessed with how they look. There's like a whole paragraph with how they dress at the grocery store. Like, I don't understand why we're so obsessed with the way they dress too. They're obviously rich, okay? Let's talk about that. for a second. Pretending like we don't know how this book ends. They're rich. Their dad's a doctor. Like, of course they're gonna dress nice, right? I don't understand why she's like so obsessed with that, acting like she's never seen anybody who's dressed like nice in her entire life. Oh, and then she says, get this, okay, she says, I guess he considered me old enough now not to shoot myself by accident and not depressed enough to shoot myself on purpose. All right, madam, that was weird. Like, some of them are just like my notes to kind of like keep track, but like some of it I need to talk about. Oh, right here. So she's caught staring at the Cullens at the lunch table, and one of her friends is staring at them too, and she's like teasing him about him, and she says, stop looking at him, I hissed. She snickered and looked away. I raised my head enough to make sure she did I cannot say the word, complicating violence if she resisted. That's not the right word, but I can't speak tonight. What do you mean you're thinking about being violent because she wanted to look at the boy? I cannot deal with Bella Swan. Some points in this book make me feel like I'm reading a fan fiction that's very poorly written, and other times I feel like I'm reading a novel written by an 85-year-old man. Like, it's, I don't know, it's very strange. Okay, why are they learning mitosis in high school? I learned mitosis in like 8th grade. And then she says, at the end of chapter 2, she says, I looked around me to make sure it was clear. That's when I noticed a still white figure. Edward Cullen was leaning against the door of his Volvo 3 cars down from me and staring intently in my direction. And then at the end it says, I passed the Volvo, for from a pictorial peak I could swear I seen him laughing. That makes him seem absolutely creepy. Nothing but creepy. I need to just, this title of this video, Picking Apart Twilight, because I can. Okay, and then beginning in chapter 3, all of a sudden she goes from, why is he being mean to me? Why is he mad at me? Why doesn't he like me? All of a sudden to, I really can't wait to see him because he's super attractive. Honey, make up your mind. I don't understand what's going on with her. Oh my gosh. And then she says, maybe it was just the way boys back home had watched me pass slowly through all the awkward phases of adolescence and still thought of me that way, or perhaps it was because I was a novelty here, and while novelties were few and far between. I want to know why she thinks she's a novelty. Is because she's super pale and she thinks that's just, you know, amazing that she's super pale, or is it because she's new there? I don't know. Oh, and the way they describe the scene where he like stops the van from crushing her, I actually really like the way they describe that. That's a positive remark for this book. I actually really like the way they describe that, because they didn't just like throw it in. Like, it was like a page and a half where they like explained what was happening. That happened in like 2 seconds, so I really like that, which was oh, and then when the EMTs come, she says, Edward refused his stretcher and I tried to do the same, but the trainer told him I had hit my head and probably had a concussion. How is that a traitor? You did hit your head, honey, and you probably have a concussion. Also, being a pharmacy technician at a hospital, first of all, they let just anybody walk in and out of the emergency room. That is a no. Okay, patients have privacy in emergency areas. First of all, you can't just be walking around like that. Second of all, Edward, you need a GTFO. And then she says they're going to do an x-ray on her head. If she hit her head that hard, the first thing they would do is probably an MRI, not an x-ray. And then Carlisle says, or well, Dr. Cullen, we don't know his name yet, says the x-rays on your brain look good. Ma'am, you don't do x-rays on brains. Try again. Cats are like, Mom, go to bed. Oh, and then I highlighted this where she says, I don't like to lie. She mentioned like 8 times, like in the first chapter, she lies a lot. You need to make up your mind, ma'am, because... And then she was super appalled that Charlie told her mom, and I was like, you almost got hit by a car, man. Oh, and then I wrote this like big long statement at the end of this, because she says, that was the first night I dreamed of Edward, and I was like, all right, this man is giving you dirty looks, thinks you smell weird, disappears for a week, comes back, saves your life, acts like an asswipe, and then you dream of him? Okay, whatever. My battery died. Sorry about that. My cat's like, Mom, let's go to bed. Can you see her back there being nosy? Okay, back to this. Also, why does like 4 boys in a row ask her to go to the dance? I wish I was that popular. I was not that popular in high school. Continuously notes how pale he is, and I actually get super annoying after a while when she just mentions it over and over and over. I understand they're pale, but you need to stop mentioning it because that's annoying. I just want to make sure I get everything. Oh, and then he says he overhears her talking about how she wants to go to Seattle. How she wants to go to Seattle for the weekend of the dance. Like, she just want to go to the dance. And he says he overheard her and he wants to give her a ride because obviously her truck's super old and he has a nice car. Here's my thing. I find that really sweet. Like, he's like, oh yeah, like, let me go with you, whatever, because your truck sucks. Like, to put it nicely. And she's like, okay. And they and she's like, okay, let's do it. But at the same time, I find it kind of creepy because I was like, you weren't even anywhere around when she asked, sir. But I just started this book. I am about 100 pages in, so that's how far I've gotten. And then I'm hoping to read, my goal for tomorrow is to get to at least page 250, which will be about halfway through, and then finish the book the day after. So we'll see. I don't have any plans. Tomorrow I have a physical therapy appointment. I have to go to my doctor's office to get some paperwork, but other than that, I have no obligations. So I'm gonna go do that. Zelda likes to try to run outside when we leave, so I'm thinking about getting her microchipped. I think someone would steal you if you went outside. You'd have to hear her meow. She will argue with you, and it's so funny. Like, if you're doing something she doesn't want you to do, she will yell at you. Or like when you're talking to her and she knows you're talking to her, she will reply, and it's so funny. She's a sweetie. You ready for bed? She's like, Mom, I'm gonna play with the leaf. What are you playing with? She's playing with a piece of paper. Okay, I'm gonna go to bed and I will update you guys when I've read. Hello everybody, can you see me? Maybe. So I'm about to start reading Twilight again. I didn't read any yesterday. I was super busy. But I just got home from school and I don't really have anything to do. So I'm going to try to read a couple chapters and update you and tell me how I feel about them. And then I'm going to try to... We started watching Blind Manor yesterday, which is very good, by the way. But I really want to finish this book by the end of the week. I just feel like I haven't been devoting enough time to reading. And I really need to do that. So I want to finish Twilight and then I want to read a new book. So... my goal is to finish it by the end of the week, so I'm gonna start reading and then I'll update you when I've read some or I have something to comment about. Hi, so this is my first update since like 2 days ago. I am on page 166. So Edward just saved her from the weird people that were gonna attack her in Seattle. And am I the only one that thinks it's super strange? Am I the only one that thinks it's super strange that he just kind of like came out of nowhere? Like, he knew where she was, and yeah, it was just weird. Like, if you don't know the context of the story, I guess, that's a super weird thought that like he like came out of nowhere and he was just like, hey girl, here to save you, get in my vehicle. Also, I have a little buddy. She's my reading buddy. Yes, I'm going to continue to read. I'm hoping to get at least page 225 tonight. I didn't read as much as I wanted to the last couple days, so I'm trying to make up for that now. So I'm going to continue to read, but I just thought that was super weird how, guys, do you see this? Oh, look at that. Okay, I was laughing so hard I was bawling earlier, so that's why my makeup was like that. But I just thought that was really weird because he just came out of nowhere and she was like, okay, I'll get in your car. I just want to be with my, quote, perpetual savior. Ma'am, you need to calm down. Reading a book. So I have a complaint. So Bella, I have a lot of complaints. Edward just like appeared out of nowhere and saved her in Port Angeles, which is awesome. Go for Edward. 12 points for Gryffindor. But they're in the restaurant because Jess and Angela are not good friends and ate without her. And they're sitting in the restaurant and she says, I feel very safe with you, I feel very safe with you, I confess, mesmerizing into telling the truth again. Listen, 1, you think he's a vampire. 2, he came out of nowhere to save you. Like, don't get me wrong, he saved you. Grade A. But how did he know you were there, first of all? That's sketchy, okay? No, that's really weird. And then he was like super mean to you like 2 days ago, and then he doesn't show up at school, and you're just like, you know what? And you're just like, all of a sudden, you're like, you know what? This is the hottest guy I've ever seen in my life. Like, Bella, you need to get your priorities straightened out. That's all I'm saying. Okay, but I have another issue. So he's like telling her how he can like hear people's thoughts, right? So he's like explaining to her how he found out where she was, and why isn't that strange to her? Like, she's acting like, oh, you know what, this is fine, this is great, that's fine, you heard my friends talking about me, that's great, that's fine, that's awesome. That's weird, right? That's weird, right? Am I the only one that thinks that's weird? Probably, but it's weird. That's all I'm saying. Okay, this is complaint number 874. They're on their way home from Port Angeles, and Bella's like still asking him all these questions because nosy. And he's, answering her, like, not lying to her or anything. And she asked him, she's like, well, how did you know I went south from the bookstore if you couldn't see me anymore? He's like, fine, I followed your scent. And she's just like, oh, next question. Listen, if someone looked at me and said, you know how I found you? I followed your smell. First of all, the first thing I would ask is, what do I smell like? Second thing I would be is yeet myself out of the car, because that's weird, okay? That's all I'm saying. That's not typical. And I know she like has suspicion, I guess we should call it at this point, that he's a vampire, but she isn't 100% right. So why are you am I the only one that thinks this is weird? Because, sir, he was acting weird this whole 180 pages. Okay, my cat's being weird. He was acting weird that first whole 180 pages. He was mean to you, then he was nice to you again, then he was mean to you, then he disappeared, and then he came back like, oh, it's great, everything's fine, we're having a wonderful time. And then he followed you by your smell. That's not a red flag to anybody else? Imagine this. You come home from work. Imagine you're at work, you forgot your phone. But you had to go on a field trip with your kids or whatever. Pretend you're a teacher. All of a sudden, your husband shows up and he's like, well, I followed you because I could smell you. Okay, whatever. I'm going to continue to read, or I'm going to rant on forever. Here we go. It took 23 seconds for that to stop doing. I've got 2 more pages in, y'all. They're on their way home, and Edward, I forgot his name. Edward is flying on the freeway. He's doing like 100, and she's like, don't, because like I'm gonna die, but if we crash, you ain't gonna die. You're gonna walk away. And he's just like, yeah. But here's my thing. He hasn't told her she's a vampire. He's a vampire. So are we just under the assumption that he knows she knows, or... I'm asking because I'm really confused, because look at this. Can you tell I was crying earlier? Oh my god. How? Because I'm not understanding how. I guess she's just under the assumption that he's like immortal. I'm really confused. Oh, I see on the next page worse vampires. Okay, I'm moving on. So I'm annotating this book just to kind of annotate it. I'm like stopping and pausing this as I want to talk. My cat hears me talking and she's like, mother. But I'm on the very last page of chapter 9, and Bella says, 3 things I am absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and erotically in love with him. Ma'am, 2 out of those 3 things in that sentence are absolutely not okay. Well, actually, 3 out of 3 aren't okay, but like, if he's a vampire, you can't stop the blood thing. But parts of this make me feel like I'm reading a very poorly written fan fiction. Also, did anybody else learn in high school never to start a sentence with and, right? I get marked down for that in my classes if I start a sentence with and. Why does Stephanie Meyer get to do it like every other sentence? That's my only tip. I told you she was coming. Here she is. Say hello. Say hello. I got flea medicine on today, and I scared Mom because she thought I ate it, but I didn't eat it. Alright, I'm going to continue to read and leave Dork alone because she's going to be mad at me if I don't leave her alone. Okay, you ready for this one? So she gets in the car to go to school, and he says, what, no 21 questions today? And she says, do my questions bother you? And he says, not as much as your reactions do. And she said, do I react badly? And he says, no, that's the problem. You take everything so coolly. It's unnatural. It makes me wonder what you're really thinking. I need to know how this girl takes everything coolly. Because I'd be like, vampire boy, me and you need to have a serious conversation. Why does Bella talk like an 1800s queen sometimes? Other times she talks like a typical teenager. She uses the word incoherent in a not even incoherent, incoherency. I hope I'm saying that correctly. No 17-year-old I've ever met has ever used that in a sentence. Ever. I need to know. Pick a language, Bella. So something grammar-wise I keep seeing in this book that is so repetitive is her vocabulary. So Edward never speaks. He commands. Like, And then he's asking questions, and instead of asking, it's just like he fired off. Okay, I understand. Can we use like asked or said or spoke? Use different words. And then earlier when they were staring, all they were doing was staring. They were not gawking. They weren't looking. They were staring. Stephenie Meyer's grammar, Stephenie Meyer's vocabulary does not seem very extensive, and that's a very mean thing to say, and I'm not trying to be rude, but like that's what it's coming across as, because she keeps saying the same things over and over and over, and that gets really repetitive and makes the book very boring at times. Okay, so something I like that I actually didn't know they had in the book, mind you, I haven't read this book since 6th grade, so keep that in mind, please. Bella asks how late it is because they're sitting in the driveway talking, and Edward says it's twilight. Actually, I'll just read you the passage. "It's twilight," Edward murmured, looking at the western horizon, obscured as it is with clouds. His voice was thoughtful, as if his mind were somewhere far away. I stared at him as he gazed unseeingly out the windshield. I was still staring when his eyes shifted back toward mine. "It is the safest time of day for us," he said, answering to the unspoken question in my eyes. "The easiest time, but also the saddest in a way. The end of another day. The return of night. Darkness is so predictable, don't you think?" I like that, because this is the title of the book. So I really like when authors tie the title in somewhere in the book. So this is her way of doing it, and because obviously we named it Twilight for a reason, right? So the reason it's named Twilight is because it's the safest time of day for Edward. So obviously he does most of his going about at night, as we see later. But I don't know, I kind of like that, because I like how they put that in, because a lot of authors name things and then we never hear the name in the book, or we never even understand why it's named that. So I like how they put it in there. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, so I'm on chapter 13, page 260. So I think this is funny, and I'm sure you guys will too. So you know that scene where he like steps into the light and she's like, "Oh my god, you sparkle." I always thought that scene was funny. Always thought it was funny. I think this is funny. So I'm gonna read it to you, because apparently we're doing a read along today. "Edward in the sunlight was shocking. I couldn't get used to it, though I'd been staring at him all afternoon. His skin, white despite the faint flush from yesterday's hunting trip, literally sparkled, like thousands of tiny diamonds were embedded in the surface. He lay perfectly still in the grass, his shirt open over his sculpted incandescent chest," I can never say that word correctly, "his arms bare. His glistening pale lavender lips were shut, though of course he didn't sleep. The perfect statue, carved in some unknown stone, smooth like marble, glittering like crystal. Every now and then his lips were moved, so fast it looked like they were trembling. But when I asked, he told me he was singing to himself, but it was just too low for me to hear." It's funny in a way, because when we think about vampires, I know we all think about Transylvania. Not like the cartoon one, like actual Transylvania, where like vampires were like killed at the stake, like witches were, you know, look at my armpit, have it shaved. Like witches were, you know what I'm saying? But I just think it's funny how they made him sparkle. Out of all the things they could have made him do to the sun. It's fine. I just thought I would point that out because I think it's fun. Oh, sorry. I was waiting for it to stop doing the thing it does. So they're in the clearing, which we see in the movies. So I'm sure if you've seen the movies, you've seen the clearing. And they're there, and Edward is, I'm pretty sure he's just going to kiss Bella. And all of a sudden he snaps and like gets up, and then all of a sudden he's like, "As if you could outrun me, as if you could outfight me," starts being crazy, running around the clearing, throwing branches, ripping trees on the ground, and then he's like, "Sorry, my bad, I got a little overwhelmed." Sir, he like got in her face and he was like, "As if you could outfight, as if you could take me on." Red flag. Wave it in the air, penalty. What is going on? So I just passed the part where Edward tells Bella how how he became a vampire, and like about his family and their abilities and everything. And I can't get over the fact how she is just so unmoved about how old he is. She's just like, okay. But I think it's really sad, because if I've seen the movie, I was a very big Twilight freak when I was dropped my bookmark. I was a very big Twilight freak when I was in middle school. So this is like, I've read this book before, so this is a reread for me. But the thing is, I can't help but to think like how sad it was for Edward as he was like dying from the Spanish flu. He didn't have anybody, and that's really sad, because like you can compare it to so many other diseases where I work in a hospital, so like I watched people sit in a hospital bed for weeks and weeks and weeks in the ICU with COVID, and nobody's allowed to visit. There was one person there who his wife would call every single day and FaceTime him, and they can't even talk to you. You just sit with, and you get to see what they look like. And that's super sad, because you think when this Spanish flu went around, you don't even have that phone call or that FaceTime with them, and you don't even have that phone call or that FaceTime. So it's just really sad, because could you imagine? Because I don't know, every time I hear about a disease or something, I get really sad, because I just can't imagine dying alone in a hospital room with no one by you. But anyway, I am on chapter 14 or 15. 15. I'm on chapter 15. Edward, they are in bed in Bella's room, and Edward says, "Isn't this what it's supposed to feel like? The glory of first love and all that. It's incredible, isn't it? The difference between reading about something and seeing it in the pictures and actually experiencing it." I love how he says that, because we read about first love, especially readers. We read a lot of romance. We read all that. We see people around us fall in love, but I don't think you really experience, or you really understand it until you experience it for the first time. So I just really liked how he said that, but it also made me really sad, because you think it's been 100 years and he hasn't found anyone to love him, and now he has Bella. So. But I am a little over halfway through the book now. My star rating at this point would be a 3 out of 5. It's not horrible. The grammar is iffy. The plot's messy at times. But I mean, overall, it's not as terrible as everybody makes it seem. Don't get me wrong, there are issues. I'm not going to complain that there are a lot of issues. But that being said, it's not as bad as what everybody makes it seem to be. So I'm going to finish reading. I want to get to at least chapter 17 tonight and then go to bed. I'm actually super tired. I had class this morning, and then I have to get up tomorrow and do some studying, and then make some appointments. So I'm gonna finish this. I don't know why I'm telling you all this right now, because I'll probably update before I finish it. But if I say it out loud, I have to do it. That's the rule. So I am stopping for the night. I am on page 348, which I only have about 150 pages left, so I should be able to finish this tomorrow. That yellow mark is where the actual book ends and the preview for New Moon starts. I'm getting bored, which is kind of silly, but I don't know. I don't know if it's the writing style or if it's the story, but I'm getting super bored, actually. I literally stopped for an hour and a half and watched reading vlogs, because couldn't do it. But I got about 150 pages left. I'm hoping I'll be able to finish this tomorrow, and then at the end of this video we'll talk about it. But that's what we'll do. I'm thinking about putting together a TBR for November already. I know you probably won't see this until mid-November, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Twilight. Me and Twilight are not buddies at this point. I sound really tired, because I am tired. So I'm actually going to go to bed. So I will update you guys tomorrow when I've actually read something. I am at the part where they're just about to go outside and play baseball. So I'm really hoping I'm going to be able to finish this tomorrow, because I'm sick and fucking tired of reading it. I'll talk to you guys in the morning. Hello everyone, happy Wednesday. I look like complete garbage, but you know what? The things I do for YouTube. So, Twilight. We are on page 348. There are 498 pages in this book. That's, if you want a reference, the orange tab is where the actual book ends, and the white bookmark is where I am. So I'm hoping to finish this today. I will still be making commentary and everything on it. My dog is flopping around underneath the coffee table, so it's moving. Read some Twilight. So I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Okay, here's my issue. Sorry, the light from my window is making me look like an angel. Okay. Here's my issue. So why can Emmett feel her emotions, or control her emotion, and Alice can see her in the future, but Edward can't hear her thoughts, she's a shield to him? But why can everybody else control her and hear her if she's a block or whatever? You know what I'm saying? That was weird to me, because I just don't understand how that works, right? There's a fuzzy on my book. I just don't understand how that works. So, but I'm on page 405. We have 93 pages left, and I will finish this today. My comment is Bella is extremely gullible. I don't look like an angel anymore. Bella is extremely gullible. What's his face? The vampire who wants to kill her and eat her. he uses that recording of her and her mom to trick her into thinking he has her mom. She didn't think he would go to that level because, like, girl, really, she is so gullible and it's so irritating sometimes. I just needed to point that out. So Bella's in the hospital because the vampire tried to kill her, whatever. But she's in the hospital and she's like, so why'd you stop? Why didn't you just let the venom turn me into a vampire? And he's like, I don't want to do that to you, blah blah blah. And she's like, why? Should have did it anyway. Should have done it. And he's just like, no. And she's like begging him to do it. Here's my question. At this point of the book, it was only like, what, a couple months? You've known this boy for a couple months, and you want him to turn you into a vampire. 2 months into my relationship, I was trying to figure out if I even still like the dude, okay? Bella, I'm gonna need you to calm down. You think Edward's, what, 100 and whatever years old by now? And he's just like, no, I just want to spend time with you as a human, blah, blah, blah. First of all, you gotta think, Edward is so controlling throughout this whole book. Don't get me wrong. But right now, he seems to be very, like, thinking of Bella's own best interests. Like, you don't want to be a vampire, Bella. You're just being a pain in the ass. Okay? Alright, that's it. I finished Twilight today. That was the goal. I'm excited that I finished it because I needed to be over with this book. So, quick update. So this book wasn't as terrible as I expected it to be because leading up to doing this video, I watched like 18 different people reacting to Twilight. So I was a very big Twilight person in middle school when like Twilight was really big. I was Team Edward, like I stated at the beginning of this video. I wrote it in my book. So if that says anything about me as a person, well, there it is. So the story itself wasn't horrible. I wasn't mad about it, but the things that went along with the story were kind of aggravating at times. Like, Edward was extremely possessive, not only toward Bella, but toward his family and toward like and toward his lifestyle. He was very possessive over Bella. And when I say that, he like instances that like Bella thinks are romantic in the book, I see as creepy and very red flags. Like, he watches her sleep at night. He won't let her do certain things because he feels like it's a danger to herself and like things like that. Like, he doesn't want her going to the reservation to see the black because that's dangerous. She's known them way longer than she knows Edward, so I don't understand why it's so bad. Like, I understand why he thinks it's bad, but like, and then Jacob's telling her what the Cullens are on the reservation when they go to the beach, and she's just like, vampires? What? And then she like goes and Googles it and is just like, you know what? He's hot. It's fine. What? And I'm telling you, one day I'm gonna go through this book and I'm gonna count how many times Stephenie Meyer refers to Bella as albino or refers to Bella as not like anyone else because of her skin color. You are a white girl with brown hair. I don't understand why you keep saying you stand out and you're so different. You are the epitome of a cover girl, okay? I don't understand how you stand out. You're a white girl with brown hair. What? I don't understand. Okay, whatever. But so many times through this, I felt like I was reading a very poorly written fan fiction. Sometimes Bella was talking like she belonged in 1812, which I understand how Edward talks like that because obviously he's over 100 years old. Like, it's obvious that he's gonna talk that way. But Bella, normal high schoolers do not use incoherency in a sentence. They're gonna say, I don't understand you, or they don't understand. They're not gonna use incoherency. Have you guys ever, I'm gonna put a poll up in my community tab. Have you people ever heard a high school girl use the word incoherent in a sentence? Because I guarantee you it's gonna be no. Unless you're in college. Like, if you're in college, I can understand, because when you're in college, you're supposed to use your bigger grammar. Nobody uses the words incoherency. I can't get over that one. And, like, sometimes she talks like, oh, he's hot. He's so attractive. And then 2 pages later, she'd be like, he looks like he was painted by a mythical god. Nobody speaks like that. No one speaks like that, Bella. But like I said, there are things that are simple and silly, I guess, that I don't like the grammar or the usage of wording and stuff like that. But like, the story wasn't horrible. If we go back and change how possessive Edward is, it wouldn't be that bad. But the possessiveness of Edward, not only through the book, but they do it in the movie as well. He is just kind of obsessed with her, and she's obsessed with him, and they're like codependent on each other. And I don't like that. I like strong female leads, and Bella was not. So on Goodreads, I rated this a 3 out of 5. I think I had such high expectations for it because I was such a Twilight nerd. In middle school, I was very much Twilight on my walls. My cousin lived with me for a hot minute, and she had Jacob Black over her walls, so there was definitely a rivalry going on there. It was a 3 out of 5 for me. I wish it could have been better. I wish I could have given it more stars, but there were so many things I did not like about it, and I'm sorry. Definitely not as problematic as I think most people think it is, but definitely could have been a lot better. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys liked hearing my thoughts on Twilight. Let me know how you guys feel about Twilight down in the comments, because I'd like to know, because Twilight is very controversial at this point, and I just don't know why. Make sure you give this video a super big thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I upload every Tuesday and Thursday, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Jack Frost.